Hello, hello, hello. I think you guys can tell we're at a new location today. My name's Felix,
Hey, I'm Roy, everyone. Nice to see you again.
and yeah, we're here to answer, your questions about Ledger. I can already see the questions in chat, so keep them coming. We'll try to answer them as quickly as we can. Um, get right to it, I guess. But
Yep,
first thing, don't share your code phrase and don't send any sign any transactions or messages you don't trust. I always try to mention that. Add a little extra there today.
yep, absolutely. Stay safe out there, people.
All right. So first one, bag at 16 Keeks. How to know the reward for Sol after the coin is active. So I'm assuming after you staked it, delegated it. What I would normally suggest in most cases is actually to jump onto Solana Beach, one of the block explorers. Generally, Solana Beach has a better UX in my opinion, but there are others. And you can check the rewards that you have for each epoch, if I remember the wording correctly. But it depending on each time frame, you'll have a certain reward, and that's generally the easiest way to check, in my opinion. I know the UX isn't as good as it could be in Ledger Live, and we'll definitely look to try and make sure that's the best as possible in the future.
Yep, yeah, pretty much. The way that I always personally remember it as well is I basically staked an even number of Solana, so let's say four. And if at some point I see that I'm currently staking 4.0 something something, then I know that that 0 point something something is actually the reward that came from staking.
That's a good way to do
But
it.
Solana Beach is definitely the way to go.
Exactly. All right. Next up, Rohit Dutta. Got a couple there, and we love that. First one, is there a way to re-verify a passphrase? Now, we were talking about this just before. I was initially going to say no, but no, there is a way.
There is indeed a way. So it is not the easiest way, but the way that you can do it is as follows. So reading your message, I'm assuming that you've attached that passphrase to a secondary PIN code. That basically means whenever you enter that secondary PIN code when starting your device, well, you're unlocking your 24 plus passphrase accounts. Now, the way that you can actually test and see if it's correct is just enter your normal PIN, so not connected to the passphrase. From there, go to your settings and go to the passphrase, and you can use set temporary. With set temporary, you can actually enter a passphrase. What it basically does is you'll have to enter a passphrase, and then until your device turns off, you'll be using it. So from there, you can enter that passphrase that is actually attached to your PIN and see if it's correct. Now, the way that you can check if it's correct is by verifying the receiving address or trying to send, but I would personally recommend verifying. It's just easier, no fees. So verify the receiving address of an account that belongs to the passphrase. If it's able to do that, congratulations, you indeed have the correct passphrase there. And then, of course, when you turn it off and on, the send temporary passphrase would be poof, gone.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of work, but that's kind of you want to make sure you're secure. You take a little bit of time out of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that I've personally done as well. And it's also not something that you need to do, 200 times a month or something like that. But once in a while, definitely a good practice.
Exactly right. And Rohit, you had the other questions, which was is the passphrase stored on the device? And can we change the passphrase after it has been set? With regards to changing the passphrase, I don't know if you mentioned it in just before. Definitely, if you set your passphrase to pin, another pin, for example, definitely should be able to change the passphrase you're using.
Yep.
With regards to the passphrase, if it's stored on the device, if I remember correctly, it's not like the actual string is stored on the device. I actually have to double check the docs if I remember correctly, because it's the if I remember correctly, it's the subsequent entropy that they store to then generate.
Yeah, the resulting seed, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I believe it's that as well, but it does come down to if you're attaching it to a pin, then in some shape or form, it kind of is. That's also why we have that set temporary option, because there might be someone who's like, you know what, I'm not so cool with that being on my device and that staying on my device. Well, in that case, you set temporary. The moment that your device turns off, that whatever is related to the passphrase is actually not on your device. It has a trade-off because it's not as convenient, especially if you have a very lengthy passphrase. I mean, try entering a 100-character passphrase, and you'll notice that attached to pin can be very convenient. Now, one other note about you mentioned changing the passphrase, so that's definitely possible. Now, with set temporary, you can change it every single time. But when you're using attached to pin, when you're trying to use that a second time, it will actually overrule the previous setting. So let's say you attached to pin the word apple as a passphrase. If after that you try doing it again, apple will actually be erased. So that is something to consider there. Sorry for the lengthy rant there.
No, I think we both like to what's the word? Articulate a lot. So it's both of what we do.
And it's just a topic I enjoy. Like, it's so interesting and way more powerful than it meets the eye, basically.
100%. Yeah. MVP, mass-produced madness, definitely helping out as well. Now, answered those questions. Just more reading through. So with regards to us and our location, yes, it does seem like we're in a bunker, for sure. Mass-produced madness.
It is actually one of our offices, so it's not like we're actually hiding anywhere.
Okay, next up, just by the way, Flying Puma, I see the messages as being retracted. There might be something in the message that isn't coming through because there's a word there that might be blocked. You might want to try and rephrase the question, and we can try and look from it from there. It might help in that case, just as a heads up. I think if I see it there, you've mentioned on your Ledger Live app, Chainlink has 4x the actual value. It says around $20.
Oh,
I would definitely get a hold of us for that one, because then we'd want to just double check everything. I think I even have Chainlink, so I'll have to double check on my system as well, just to make sure. But then we'll make sure to raise a ticket internally. So get a hold of us, support.ledger.com, and we'll definitely have a look at that for you for sure.
Yeah, indeed. It sounds like there might be an issue with the service that we have on that in that case, and that's definitely something we like to take a closer look into. So please reach out to us, and we'll take care of it.
Just in case, you can always, I mean, it sounds like you already used a third party as well, and you can always just either clear the cache just in case or reinstall at the very worst. But I never would say that. That would probably be towards the end if you're kind of desperate.
There's always other dApps as well in Ledger Live that you could use, for example. So one that comes to mind is you can always go to the Discover section and take a look at Zerion, and you should still see the correct values presented there at least.
Okay. Next up, we had, where is it? Kanchan. So when the Ledger Stack's available in stock, no specific date I have to give you, unfortunately. Just definitely keep an ear out for sure. We're gonna let you know the moment we have more info, and especially if you have already pre-ordered any of the stacks or anything like that, we'll make sure always to send emails out to you straight away for.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have an exact ETA just yet, but rest assured that it is pretty much our priority to get it shipped out as soon as we can. But we want to make sure that, the quality is going to be up to the standard as well. So, we're not going to rush it and then deliver a product that, we wouldn't be content with.
Exactly. All right. Can you put in a word to the developers to get Arweave on Ledger Live? Definitely something, obviously I'll pass on the feedback. I do think I remember something about it.
Same. I can't put my finger on what it was, however.
Yes. But, I mean, again, we'll pass on the feedback. It might already be something in the works. I'll have to double check. I think Roy is doing now.
Yeah.
But in any case, it's definitely like I have actually used Arweave as well personally, so it's definitely something we'll think about?
Okay, I actually just took a quick look because it rang a bell, and I was just like, okay, let me quickly take a look. So what I'm actually seeing is it's indeed not supported on Ledger Live, but you should, from what I'm reading in our own help center, be able to use it with the Arweave web wallet. So you should be able to use your Ledger Nano S or Ledger Nano S Plus for Arweave. Do note though that the Ledger Nano X app does not appear to be there quite yet. But yeah, this is being looked into. For Ledger Live, however, that part unfortunately I don't have any information as of yet.
Right. Mandeep, on my pre-order, Ledger Stacks not received in India. Again, no specific time frame as well. I hate to say, but yeah, trying to get that out ASAP for you guys, 100%. Rohit, can you please rephrase what you said about passphrase changing in your documentation? Maybe I think the simplest way to put it would be if you attach it to pin, if you go through the process to attach to pin again, it'll just overwrite what you had in the passphrase already, and you'll set a new passphrase again. Basically, it's one passphrase on the device at maximum at one time on the device. I probably said on the device too many times, but hopefully that answers
That's
your
correct
question.
though.
Yeah, don't hesitate to keep asking though, because yeah, it can. And one other thing, if you want to, if you have the time to, could be just to test it out and just maybe have like one install the Ethereum app. Let's say you add an account for the Ethereum app for one passphrase, and then add it for your base without the passphrase, and then add it for another passphrase, and just play around with it. That's one way that I normally try to do things as well, just in case.
Yep.
Right. Mandeep Sandhu, can I buy the Ledger Nano X from Etherbit? It's a genuine reseller.
I know that one. Yeah, so Etherbit is indeed a legitimate reseller. Now, do always make sure that you're using the correct website. We actually have a particular website where we have all the resellers based on continent, country actually listed. Etherbit, you will find it under India there as well. So yeah, but just make sure that you're using the correct website.
Yeah, I think the main thing as well is when you're doing the genuine check. So when you download Ledger Live, there'll be a process where it'll actually check if your device could have been tampered with on the software side, potentially on the hardware side as well, just to make sure everything's up to scratch. So make sure download it from our website as well, ledger.com, and then it'll perform that check as well. Anytime it asks you for your recovery phrase, you're going to be, it should be raising red flags for you, by the way. It should only be putting it on the device if you're restoring it. So hopefully just another warning always.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Next up, BRSS. So Richard, hi. Shout out to Ireland. How can you create multi-sigs on your Ledger Nano X? So I love this question. This is something I think I've been advocating for a lot more use for. Now, it does depend on what kind of assets you want to store generally. So you might want to use something like Bitcoin. You might need to use a third-party wallet. I know I have done so with Electrum for sure.
Yep.
Sparrow, I'm not so sure, which is another wallet.
I haven't tested either yet.
So in any case, Electrum definitely has the ability to generate a multi-sig account setup. Yeah, that's probably it.
Well, kind of the same thing, really.
And from there, you can, get either multiple devices or multiple extend public keys that you want to sign with, essentially. It just depends on how you want to set it up. It can be quite complex and opaque, but if you have trouble, you could come to us. You could search on, generally on the subreddits are pretty good, either on Electrum as well, and go from there. If you're doing it for, let's say, EVM-based assets, something like Ethereum, Polygon, Gnosis Safe is also a good option as well, and they take care of a lot of the setup quite well. Abstract a lot of it away, and all you do is need to click through. So it's a lot. When I went through both of them, Gnosis Safe was definitely felt a lot more polished, but I always liked the Electrum. It allows you different ways to set it up and everything like that, so it's quite cool.
Yeah, and I always like that it's not smart contract based as well. Like smart contracts are obviously extremely powerful, but I always just like that, sense of, hey, this is just purely how it's intended to work rather than programmed on top of it.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, definitely let us know, and yeah, get a hold of us too if you need any help, Richard, for sure. All right. Mandeep hopefully already answered that question for the pre-order in terms of when pre-order Ledger Stacks delivery.
So when is it being delivered?
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, we do not have an ETA just yet, but rest assured, we're doing all we can to get it shipped out as soon as we can.
Yes, for a second I thought you meant when the pre-order will open, but yes, my apologies. Puma, so mass-produced madness. Puma, have you tried claiming the cache? Yes, definitely. That's one of the normal things we mentioned. Frank J. Lavelli. You just purchased 3 Ledger Nano S's. Purchased them from your email and thought they were coming from France. The Ledger S is coming from Memphis, Tennessee. Do I need to worry that they are compromised? So, first thing we mentioned, it's totally normal for it to come from there, especially if you're US based, North American based. But I think I kind of touched on it before with the genuine check. No matter where you buy it from, you buy it secondhand, you buy it from a reseller, your friend gives it to you. Hopefully it'll be without the PIN code attached and recovery phrase and everything. But when you receive it, as long as you receive it unset up, so from factory to condition, and you go through that genuine check, it wouldn't matter in terms of the compromise of the device itself. But yes, totally normal to be coming from Memphis, Tennessee. With respect to that, we just wanted to make sure we can get those devices out to you guys a lot quicker. So
yeah, exactly. So Memphis, that is actually a place that it may be expected from, just like France for European deliveries as well. Yep.
All right. How do I collect Flare tokens from my XRP that was on my ledger? So that one, there are a couple steps. I would definitely check out the Help Center article. We do definitely have in-depth guide to not only the requirements, because there are requirements that you need to fulfill to get the airdrop, but also how to actually claim that as well. And it's actually in more detail, like very deep detail. So definitely check that out. Support.ledger.com, and then on the search bar you can type in Flare, and you should be able to find it there for sure. But definitely should be something that's possible. But if you have any errors or anything, Martin, sorry I didn't mention the name before, then yeah, you can definitely let us know as well.
Yeah, and I think another thing to consider is if you're referring to the airdrop back in the day, that did need to be set up in advance. So if that hadn't been done, unfortunately, that wouldn't be possible. But if you had, do check out Help Center indeed. There's a lot of useful information there for it.
Next up, Jacob Boyles. Shout out to the Ledger team. Oh, thank you. You are highly professional and greatly knowledgeable. I wouldn't say so about myself, but thank you for
you're being humble.
blowing up my head, really.
Thank you. Really appreciate that, Jacob. That's very kind.
Always. Mass-produced madness. So I also have a stacks question. No, we won't skip you. In regards to development, do devs with apps for nano hardware need to change anything fundamental to the app to make the apps compatible?
I do know there are some adaptations that need to be done. I don't know how extensive they are. I really couldn't answer, unfortunately, onto that, but I do know there had to be a few edits at least. I don't think it was that huge of a difference, because I imagine still using Bodos.
The basic, I imagine the basic system is in place, because like you're still signing transactions, you're still doing things, and
exactly
that the basis of that hasn't changed, but of course there's going to be UI considerations, UX considerations, things like that.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a completely different kind of screen, so yeah, that makes sense.
But even the flow is pretty similar too, so
True. Yep.
It's kind of there is work to be done, but it's relatively minimal. I mean, coming from a lesser dev, not a dev here, but like doing on stuff on my own. So take my word with a grain of salt for sure.
Yeah, like another thing that comes to mind is that when you try to verify a receiving address, having that QR option, maybe not all apps might have that. We'll see once the stacks is fully out. But yeah, that might be something too.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Hello 77.
Welcome
No
back.
face. Yeah. What are the chances of having real-time price action down the line through Ledger Live like CoinMarketCap has? I know Ledger updates every 5 to 10 minutes.
We do have the market tab actually in Ledger Live. Now, I'll admit I personally haven't used it too much, but it should actually give relatively accurate prices depending on time. Now, if it's every few seconds, that I really couldn't say, but it should help in that direction.
I mean, I can, knowing that there is like price action feeds from other, it just depends on, I think the real thing is like where you get the price from, right? That's the main, and you're gonna, what, let's say there's a lot more than, 100,000 of you, but let's say there's 100,000 people looking at the screen, then there's a WebSocket for each 100,000. I feel like it's a lot of API calls. So I think that's probably the consideration that they were making. But it's definitely something I'd love to see. Honestly, I'd love to make charts on my on my Ledger Live, but no, I continue to use the good old favorite. But yeah, definitely something I'll pass on. That would definitely be cool for sure. 100%.
Did ring a bell. I'll just look at something. I might not have an answer to that, but I felt like there was a tool at some point.
Yes. No, I remember actually. There probably there might have been something in the Discover section. Yeah. Totally underrated as well. I don't go in there often enough as I should either. But I was having a look now.
What it was called? Do you?
No, not Merlin because that's something else.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick look, but
all right. Thank you, Frank, as well.
I think it was this one. It was Crypto Nove Lite, I think.
Maybe. Yeah.
It does actually mention a crypto chart, so don't hesitate to check it out. Personally, I'm not too familiar with it. I'll have to admit though.
So Crypto Nove Lite. I wonder if that's Nove's plural for Nova, but interesting.
That's what I thought as well. Yeah.
Right. Ariane, hello, sir. I just bought Ledger before a few days. You really love it, but you have a question. If you lost your Ledger or damaged it, what should I need to do? So the main thing there, the main thing that keeps your assets safe or makes sure that you're the only one that can access it would be the recovery phrase. So as long as you have that safe, let's say you damaged it, let's say it got damaged or it's not charging, for example, or something like that, get a hold of us and we'll have a look at that. Keep the recovery phrase, don't send it back to us, and then we'll potentially replace the device, or we'll see what we can do for you with regards to that in particular. If you lost the device, getting a new device would just mean restoring it with the new recovery phrase, old recovery phrase, sorry, and you'll be good to go from there. So that's the basis for the security in essence. So
yep, nothing to add there.
I think yes, yeah, that should be about it. Not to complicate. Thank you, Mendy, for the questions as well. Mass produced madness. QR code would be nice. I did imagine an announcement of an NSE chip when Saks got announced. You didn't imagine it, but yes, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be ready to use on launch. Potentially, definitely subject to change, but that is definitely something I have been really excited for. That's going to be something that I think personally would change the way I interact with the device, because like I would love if you guys don't use, let's say, the security key app, for example, like FIDO and that kind of stuff, having that accessible via NFC would be crazy for me. That's something that I would love.
Game changer. Yeah.
So NFC for if you could add payments onto the device. I mean, this is something that I would love to do on my own and write an app for like your card, for example, and then you can just use the stacks to pay for with a Visa. But long term, we'll see what happens. But
Now, of course, keep in mind if we do end up building on that, because it could give so many options. The security of a hardware wallet, of course, still relies on you having to verify transaction details and you manually actually giving your okay for it. Now, you may have noticed that the Ledger stacks, unlike the Nano X and Nano S Plus, does not have buttons. Instead, you would have to keep holding the touchscreen at a certain spot for a few seconds.
It's a cool UX feature. I feel
I like it.
Adds a certain weight to doing it, and letting go, meaning having that like, okay, I gotta stop is a very interesting way to feel about it. Yeah, I liked it for
Yep, same.
sure. Okay. Thank you for all the questions, 77 and Arian as well. Guys, if you guys still have any other questions, yeah, keep popping in the chat. We'll try to answer them as best we can. If there's anything you guys need help with, yeah, we're here. We can try to guide you through anything you might need. By the way, it is, yeah, CryptoNovo. We're just looking at it now.
I was actually just taking a good look at it, and yes, that indeed does have a chart where you can indeed take a closer look at the price action. So yeah.
Other than that, yeah, it's been relatively, I wouldn't say calm in the crypto space, but definitely a lot of volatility in
Past few
in
days,
general. Yeah, and I don't know. I think we've been seeing a bit of a tightening of like less and less volatility for a long time, for what felt like weeks or months even, and yeah,
Yeah,
big explosion.
I remember back in like 2019, you know, the big bear market, we did see like long elongated times of just sideways action for some time as well. But hey, let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, not financial advice.
Absolutely
click
not.
the button, but you know, there are two types of capitulation. There's price-based capitulation, and then there's time-based capitulation. And you know, it feels like maybe we'll see. But if people keep leaving the space, is this capitulation in that way? I don't know. Yeah, but interesting.
Time will tell.
Mass-produced madness. Fido NFC is one thing, but imagine Ledger enterprise-based point of sales accepting transactions from a terminal for signing. Also something that, I mean, you know, I've definitely imagined, but yeah, yes, that would be very cool.
Yeah, I mean, it really also depends on, you know, what the future of crypto is going to look like. We may actually get to a point where, you know, you go to a shop and you don't grab your credit card, but who knows, maybe you'll grab your Ledger Stacks, confirm your payment, and voila. But again, like we would be dreaming a little bit, but yeah, there's so many options with it. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. There's, yeah, see what the crypto future holds. Even though I'm not getting a stacks right now, how durable is the screen for it? Because you don't want to break or crack it. You don't indeed. I had it rummaging around in my bag for a little bit. To be honest, I'm not the most careful either, and it was fine in terms of damage in that way. I wouldn't. I'm not saying you should throw it anywhere, but it was quite good in my opinion.
I'm glad to hear I wasn't the only one doing that, by the way.
Yeah, I know some people that were definitely more careful with it, but yeah, definitely didn't lasted as well as it should. You know, as I would have expected. I didn't expect the world of it in any case. So yeah.
Yep, and something that to keep in mind as well, those who pre-ordered with NFT, so you could actually burn a Ledger Stacks NFT and make a pre-order, they will actually get a magnetic case as well, which provides some extra protection to the screen. I've actually seen the pictures of it today, and it looks pretty sweet, actually.
Yes, I do like it.
That was very sleek. Yeah.
Okay, Mandeep Sandhu, how many accounts can you install in the Ledger Nano X? This is an interesting thing because, firstly, in terms of accounts, you can basically have as many as you want, essentially. That would be how many accounts you can see in Ledger Live. Now, what you might be referring to, I'm not sure, but so I wanted to catch all of them. The other thing would be applications. And applications, I always actually refer to them as kind of like books for how the Ledger device understands the blockchain. So how to read, how to write certain things. And you can only have a certain amount on a Ledger device itself. So the applications take up a certain amount of space, and then the accounts are just you know, things that you would have within Ledger Live. So they'd be two separate things. With the accounts, does depend on the amount of space you have on the Ledger device. With the applications, a number of amount of space on the device. With the accounts, you can have as many as you want. First thing you do though is to have a transaction on each of the accounts. just to keep it simple. We don't expect a lot of users to be adding 70, 50 accounts or anything like that. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I kind of ran around the bush there a little bit, but yeah, as many accounts as you want. If you're talking about applications, it does depend on space.
Yep. Keep in mind, however, if it comes down to applications, let's say you have a lot of apps on your Ledger Nano X, and at some point it does run out of storage space. You can still uninstall an application and reinstall it again at a later point. So in that sense, you can still manage pretty much as many cryptos as you want. You may just have to uninstall and reinstall at some point. So long as the same 24 words are on your Ledger device, it will still grant access to the same addresses and accounts again when you reinstall it.
Right, mass-produced madness. I'm glad I got the metal shell pack. I'm clumsy like you, Felix. Nah, I'm joking. But yes, it is a good thing to have, I think. And I'm very interested to see the future if they're going to be other people making. Because there are even like you said, the pods, for example, for the Ledger Nano and stuff like that. So like, I'd love to see a lot more different things because some people like different things, just like phones.
Yep.
Some people want the most protectiveness, right? And they'll be like, it's like they've doubled the size of their phone because of their case. But some people maybe, I don't know. For me, they're a bit of a psychopathic nature when they run with no case. That's crazy to me. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my phone is definitely nicely packed here as well.
Yeah.
But it's also just like that customization. You know, if you're like, hey, I think this looks really sleek and that's what I want, it's great. And it's also, again, just a great way to tell your Ledger devices apart. Because right now with the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano S Plus, yeah, you can get different colors. That can absolutely help. But another thing with the stacks is, first off, you can actually name your stacks, and the name will be presented on the side, but on top you would have those metal cases as well that can help with that as well. And on top, it just looks nice.
Yeah, it works better than me taping, the name of my ledger onto my devices. So it looks so sketchy, I will admit, but it's hilarious. 7.7, no case is a no-go for me. I've had the same phone for years. Yeah, exactly
Same.
right. Yeah. My partner has a quite an old phone, and they have a case. They have the lanyard and everything just to make sure it never goes anywhere. So that's key.
I'm similar there. Like I actually have my phone pretty much since I've joined Ledger, so it's like almost 5 years old at this point.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mandeep. Good night. But yeah, get a hold of us for sure. If you have any questions in the future, always love to help. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, keep going. We're about halfway through. We're here for another 27-ish minutes. So again, if you guys have questions, pop them in the chat. We'll try to answer them. If you have cases that maybe you guys still have with us, if you getting stuck anywhere, even just even with third-party applications, because I think the one thing that I think I am really proud of here is that a lot of us really do use the device nearly every day, right? Sometimes you don't have to, but yeah, we use it for nearly everything. So like, I think, yeah, even if it's a third-party application, we probably have used it for the most part, right?
Yep.
So yeah, don't hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to talk about anything else that you guys might want.
Yep.
Right, Dustin. Oh yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, maybe this is also a good point just to remind everyone, keep your 24 words recovery phrase secure. Never, ever, ever enter it on a computer, smartphone, or any device that can connect to the internet. I remember when I just joined Ledger, there was actually someone that reached out asking if it's secure to say your 24 words out loud while Alexa is on and in the room. Technically, that is actually not secure. Of course, don't do that in that case. But yeah, it just comes down to it should never be connected to anything that could be online in any shape or form. That's an extreme example though, but yeah.
You could get more extreme than that too, to be honest, because even, some people have, what do you call it, air-gapped computers where they do everything on, and, let's not say not to say that every user is going to need to go to these lengths, but like even an air gapped system, let's say what was the Iran nuclear program, not to get political, but just talking about the virus that hit that program, right? Totally air gapped, and they managed to get it onto that system in the eventually. This is a state actor, of course, but that level of penetration is possible. So you don't need to be. I don't think you generally need to be this scared. I just mention it as there's always something you can do to protect yourself, and you can never be too secure. And even an air-gapped computer may not be as secure as you think. Definitely consider the risks. It's just about risk versus reward. How far are you willing to go? And what are the potential things that you're going to face likely? Are you going to face a potential state actor? That's probably a bit out of our league, to be honest. But in general, is it just to protect against general hackers? I think that's you're going to be really safe as long as you follow. Don't give out your 24 words. Don't put it on anywhere, like you mentioned, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I think another thing with air-gapped computers, like it can absolutely work if done well, but it's so easy to make a mistake there. If an air-gapped computer, which probably will still have some kind of Ethernet connection or something like that, if it just connects once, that can already be game over. And that's at least where, with a hardware wallet, you wouldn't have that. The only thing there that you need to consider is, well, make sure that those 24 words remain on a piece of paper or a steel backup, if that's what you got, and never enter it in a device that can connect to anything online.
All right, let's keep going. We've got Dustin. Dustin, mentioned Nexa last stream and reached out to their devs directly. So yeah, it's the kind of thing, if you generally want to get the applications made, our devs will definitely try to help in terms of getting that set up and getting them to be past any blockers they might have in writing the app for sure. So yeah, the Discord is generally the best place for that, by the way, if they're going to ask you as well. Handles. Will you plan on supporting all Ledger products forever, or will they have a life cycle?
That's an important question, actually.
Indeed, yes, because I think some people use it as their long-term storage, which I think, sorry to sidetrack, but I think that's a little bit maybe a misalignment of how to use the Ledger products, right? Where let's say metal seed storage would be your long-term storage.
Yep.
And then you would use for us, we would generally be thinking that you might use the device relatively often because you can use it to sign. It's safe to take out, not to, take it out with you everywhere you go, but if you take it out with you, you shouldn't be worried about the security of your assets because it is safe from, physical penetration.
Yeah. And I think an important part to mention here is that there are already some Ledger devices way in the distant past that are no longer actually usable. For example, when Ledger just launched, we had the Ledger HW1. We also had the Ledger Nano. That's actually the predecessor to the Nano S. These are two devices that are actually no longer supported. So even with these devices, you would have a recovery phrase. The key here is make sure your recovery phrase is secure. If it is, then even if for any reason a device is no longer supported, you would always have access to your crypto. That's the part that remains most important.
So to really boil it down, not the devices aren't necessarily going to be supported forever. But yes, it is the recovery phrase that means that you can always manage your assets forever. So that should be the main point as well. 77, I love the YouTube short you have that is keep those 24 words out of harm's way. Needs to be part of the intro. Maybe we should have it in the intro for Ledger Live. That should be something, maybe.
I like that.
Yeah. All right. Johnny Sevenfold. Good morning. How can I use Ledger Nano S, I assume, with the same app of Ledger Live on the phone? Thank you. Now, you should be able to use it. Now, the reason I have definitely used it before with now I want to mention specifically my Ledger Nano S with my Android device. And I mentioned that specifically because Ledger Nano S would be using the cable. Now it uses a micro USB micro. Wait, USB micro B.
Micro USB.
Micro USB. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Sorry.
To
Connect to the device, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be using Bluetooth or anything like that with the Legend Nano S, which it doesn't have. So if you're using Android, definitely possible. However, if you are using a Legend Nano, if you're using an iOS device, it may not be possible as you're not able to connect directly with a cable.
Yep.
So with regards to that, you might have to consider the options. If you have a desktop computer, something along those lines, to use Ledger Live, and then use the Ledger device as well. If you have a, Ledger, if you potentially want to think about getting a Ledger Nano X with an iOS device, that'll definitely be something you can use too, for sure.
Yep. Something to mention there for iPhone users as well. I'm personally one of those. So indeed, I cannot use a Legend Nano S with my iPhone. But there is still one thing that you can do. So the capability that Ledger Live does have is to scan a QR code that your computer can present. With that, yeah, you can't really send your crypto, but you can still keep an eye at least on your crypto portfolio and your accounts that way. So if you go to the settings of Ledger Live desktop, from there is going to be an option to export the accounts, and your smartphone can actually scan that QR and add the accounts that way to just keep an eye on it at least. By the way, indeed, because we mentioned micro USB, that is one option, but that is for older Android devices now to think of it. So mass-produced madness is correctly actually calling out, isn't it USB-C? For the part that connects to the Android phone, yes, but for the Nano S part, that is still the micro USB.
Yes, I was also thinking that the S Plus is a USB-C in particular.
Correct.
Which, my favorite connection of all time, by the way.
Likewise, yeah.
Hello, Tim. Indeed. Love to see you here. Johnny Sevenfold. Sorry, I meant to say 2 Legend Nano X's with the same iPhone with 2 different seed phrases.
Oh yeah, that's definitely possible. So yeah, you can actually use as many devices as you like, and the Nano X with Bluetooth absolutely works like a charm. So yes, that's definitely possible. One tip that I would like to give though is name your accounts in such a way so that you know which account belongs to which device, and ideally make sure that you can also tell the devices apart in some shape or form.
2 different styles of devices. Maybe you get one with an NFT and you get a colored one would be a good option as well.
Yep.
But yeah, exactly what I was going to mention. At the point where if you have 2 seed phrases, recovery phrases, at that point, I feel like most of the users that I've actually encountered have like a lot of accounts with a lot of chains and a lot of assets. So like it gets to that point where you really need to start naming them. Otherwise, yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a bit of an issue.
Messy, yeah.
Yeah. And definitely keep it all tied together. 100%. All right. Other than that, yeah, keep those questions coming, guys. Yeah, we always love answering them. Otherwise, we can chat about crypto all day. Let's not beat around the bush. We'll definitely do that as well. But we're definitely here to want to help you guys as best we can about anything you guys might want. If you guys have any tickets that you need help with as well, anything like that, yeah, we're definitely here. I think one thing maybe I'll mention now is, we talked about not giving out the recovery phrase, and I think general security, OPSEC is definitely an important thing to keep in mind, because just having, the recovery phrase isn't the thing that is going to, is the thing that you should always keep safe. But if you have bad security OPSEC, so let's say you do store it, let's say in a password manager, even the password manager, you might think it's secure, but even those things would, potentially have faults, have failures. They may get hacked as well, which I think has happened for some potential password managers. I can't remember the one, and I wouldn't want to call them out anyway.
I was going to say I remember there's one in particular, but I also forgot the name.
And it is. It's somewhere where you think it should be, but it is tough. It's just offline is always the best way. Mass-produced madness with if you wouldn't give your stranger a house key, don't give them your phrase. Indeed.
Pretty much.
you know, on a side tangent, actually, when I lived in Korea, they did not use house keys as much. They would use either a code, and it was a revelation. Imagine not having to take keys out with you wherever you go. It's incredible.
I would then be so worried that someone looks over my shoulder and just sees me tapping the key. Like, yeah, but you know, benefits and
Benefits, yeah, exactly.
one thing also to always keep in mind, like you mentioned, you know, what was it called, the password thing?
Uh,
But basically, anything that's encrypted. The thing as well with encryption, like obviously encryption is excellent, but it's never going to be as secure. For example, if someone hacks your computer and they're able to take that file, they can take as long as they want from there. And you might never have noticed that they were able to break in and actually get that file. So yeah, I would always recommend just completely offline.
completely offline, and there are security measures that you do in general, right? Like I know I have a white hat friend that does, like, you know, rotating keys, different email address for every single account that a service that he uses, you know, like there are it's about how much effort do you want to put in, because some people minimal effort for best of coverage is probably what most people want. They just want to spend maybe, you know, an hour max, maybe in a year, and then they've got it set for the rest of their life. I think that's a great trade-off. But 7.7, regardless, malware will get you, and that's it. I don't know. Like, I understand the sentiment, right? Like, it's definitely, it feels overbearing, but I would like to hope that it's not inevitable. That's my personal opinion, hope. I'm not sure.
I mean, I guess at least say for me, it's been a while. I'm gonna have to knock on wood because watch tomorrow Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are definitely at least things that you know you can do to minimize your chances as much as possible. But yeah, just short version, your recovery phrase has no business of being on your computer in the first place.
And that means also that, you know, you, not to say that you can just go around downloading everything that you find on the internet, but that because you don't have it on the computer, you don't have to worry about the malware getting to the computer at all. And then as long as you think about the things that could ring red flags, so, you know, when you're sending an asset and it has a different address on the device than it does on Ledger Live, you're set. You have something to say, hey, oh my God, this is not matching. Something might be wrong. You can either contact us, we can double check. The easiest way is generally just to factory reset the computer, reinstall the OS, and
Scan as well.
scan. Yeah.
One thing that I always remember the first time I ever saw this, Ledger Live actually has a little pretty unknown mechanism that's great for protection. Within Ledger Live, once you verify a receiving address, you can of course copy that address. However, if you click on copy and what's actually on your screen versus what you're actually copying into your clipboard does not match, Ledger Live will actually give you a warning. It will actually say mismatch between clipboard and I forgot what it says for the other part, but there is a warning and it's a super important one. In that case, if you encounter it, scan your computer immediately.
It's, yeah, definitely. I think there was some, just to give you guys an idea of what, you know, it should be good to know. Personally, my opinion is when you know, it's easier to spot it, right?
Yep.
Sometimes some people only check, you know, the first two, the last two of their address. I wouldn't think that's a good idea. We'd want to check as many digits as you feel comfortable doing or have time to do, if not checking all. One thing that you might think is good as well is maybe you can check with use a ENS domain if you're using an EVM address. That way you can set it to a particular address that you might use continuously. That could help as well. But yes, those are the kinds of things that I'd be thinking about in terms of yeah. Sorry, trailed off there, but
yeah. Guys, don't, by the way, hesitate to actually keep asking your questions. I know that we're going on a little bit of a sidetrack here, but if you have questions, we are actually there for that.
7.7, what's that in regard with Roy? It tells you when sending and receiving from Ledger.
So yeah, when you're trying to verify your receiving address, at some point you actually have a little button right next to your address where you can click to copy it. However, if what you have in text in Ledger Live there and versus what is currently in your clipboard, meaning what you're about to paste, is not the same, Ledger Live will actually give a warning. It will be displayed in red text just above your address in that case.
So I think if let's say you do have malware on your computer, and this might come up. Let's say you're withdrawing from an exchange to your Ledger, managed address, and if you have that malware change the address on your clipboard, that's when it will tell you that there's a mismatch between what's in the clipboard and what Ledger Live is showing you.
Yep, absolutely. And if you'd like to learn more on this, what you can actually do is go to Google and search for Ledger Clipboard Mismatch. The top hit should be from our help center, and that one will actually explain in more detail what that actually is about.
There's a lot of articles that I know that our colleagues have spent a lot of time writing, and yeah, I feel like there's an article for everything. I just type in and it just comes up. There can never be enough though, so if you guys have any suggestions as well, I mean, we're always here to keep writing them, because I definitely think, for me personally, this is the kind of the way I learn, right? Like, it's just like,
Absolutely.
just find the information. Where is it? Okay, I read it, I try it, I do it. It works or doesn't work, and then if it doesn't, maybe we need help. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We'll keep asking for your questions as well. If you have any random banter questions as well, always happy to answer too. But if it maybe we're getting towards the end. It's the last 10 minutes, so a bit of a quieter one today.
Yep.
But if you guys if there's no other questions, we can close it up a little bit early. Otherwise, yeah, we'll keep on going. So we'll maybe make a last call now for anything you guys might want to ask. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, we're always gonna just keep rambling. Honestly, we'll probably just end up rambling.
I'm good at it.
Yeah, we'll keep talking for another 10 minutes, because this is what we love. This is what we love to do, and also like keeping your assets safe is really important. 77. I have my exchange saved. Save my address. Yes, that is definitely one of the things that is quite important on the exchange side, and it's also when I remember when I was doing it a lot, it was like, yes, you not only save the address, you also have to use your 2FA to then do that as well. One thing I might mention actually right now, if you guys follow ZachXBT, is something that he just talked about. It's going to be about the don't use phone numbers for your two-factor authentication. SIM swaps are going to hurt you eventually. So please use something like an authenticator that shows like the six digits on your, let's say, phone or something like that, and that will help with the two-factor authentication. If the service does allow something like FIDO, that is something you can use with your Ledger device as well. But the Google Authenticator is definitely used a lot in a lot of places. Please don't use phone numbers. Please.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Yes, Mass-Produced Madness. As a member of this subreddit, I wish typing would offer similar posts for the help center. Ooh.
I'm not fully sure I understood the question.
I think it's just a suggestion, tell me if I'm wrong, Mass-Produced Madness, but if it would be like a suggested help center article based on the post that you're writing. Is that kind of what I'm getting to? Or Mass-Produced Madness, are there any exchanges that use pass keys? Not as far as I'm aware, but it has been about 6 months to a year since I last checked, because I've been doing everything on chain recently.
Passkeys, are we then also referring to like YubiKey and stuff like that?
I think like, yeah, YubiKey, FIDO, that kind of.
Pretty sure Binance actually allowed YubiKey.
Okay.
I thought, at least. I could be wrong here, but there's this vague recollection in my head that Binance did have that.
Mm-hmm.
But I could really be wrong there.
People ask the same questions day in, day out on Reddit. Mass-Produced Madness Yes, definitely. Yeah, it would be nice to have a little. I don't know. Bots can go crazy on internets. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, definitely something that would be quite cool. Just be like, hey, sounds like this has already been answered. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, we do, by the way, try to remain as active as we can as well on Reddit, trying to answer the questions that we come across there. But yeah, there's obviously always more that can be done.
7-7. I've taken everything off my phone. 2FA since I heard about SIM scams. Yeah.
It's scary. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just saw like a table of like the number of just normal crypto influencers, just pretty small, that had been succumbed to that, and then they would just post, those what even is it the CEO of Uniswap had a big one where his Twitter got hacked. I don't know if you guys noticed that, and that was like a big thing. Like I saw it all over my stream. Twitter stream, so it was great. X, sorry, but it sounds like a weird site, so I like to say Twitter. All right. Mass-produced madness, YubiKey, or biometrics. I imagine biometrics is like on the app when you use your fingerprint
Yeah,
scanner.
yeah, that's definitely a thing. I mean, I know that Coinbase also uses that, for example.
All right. Mass-produced madness, got to run, friends. Thank you for the questions as well, and always helping as well.
Yeah, it's really appreciated.
F. So mentions my Ledger Live shows a correct Matic transferred onto my device. However, the transaction history only shows the last 2 transactions, with 3 missing. And please advise, do I need to fix? How do I fix or can leave? Now,
That is awkward because normally the balance presented and transaction history should match. I'm thinking cache, perhaps. It could be a caching issue. If that is the case, what you can actually do to fix that is go to Settings in Ledger Live, go to Help, and there will be a button there called Clear Cache. Now, what this actually does is force Ledger Live to synchronize again with all the blockchains for which you have accounts, get their transaction history correct again, and their balances. So I would say give that a shot. If that doesn't work out, please contact us and we'll definitely take a look at it for you.
yeah. It also considering would be good to maybe check a block explorer, something like Polygon Scan, if you're not aware, just to check your address and see, hey, what am I seeing there? I know that we always say, everything on the block explorer is generally truth. Sometimes they may not be, but it's generally another way to what's the word? Double check what's happening. So if Ledger Live might not be showing the right balance, then maybe if the block explorer is showing the same, then there might be something happening that we need to figure out as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. So I think we can just about wrap it up there, with just about 3 minutes out. But again, guys, I think we always mention it. We mention it multiple times during the stream. Don't give out those 24 words. It's the thing. You want to keep safe, and don't sign any transactions you don't trust. Don't sign any messages you don't trust. Check URLs. Don't download anything weird. Yeah, please be safe out there, guys. We want you guys to make sure you keep your assets. So.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate it, and see you in the next one.
Have a good rest of the week. Bye.
Bye.